Tag along with a techie storm chaser today on Call for Help.
It is time for all friends to gather together.
Gather together, friends. Hello and welcome to Call for Help. I'm Leo Laporte. Shoo the dog off the couch. Go upstairs and get Grandma. Gather round. It's Call for Help time. Yes, okay, Dad can have the lazy boy, but I want you here because this is going to be a great show. A show where you're going to learn a lot about how to use technology, how to make it your own. And I couldn't do it without the help of these two here. This is Amber MacArthur and Andy Walker, my Call for Helpettes. Hello,
Hi, Leo.
kids.
Hello, Uncle Leo.
Hi, kids.
How are you?
I don't know why you have a thong in front of
I
you,
know.
Andy, but I don't really want to ask.
I don't know.
La 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 la. It's part of the new Cyberwalker wear line. You too can wear a Cyberwalker logo on your underpants.
I think we're just going a little too far here, don't you?
No, I took Amber's advice and I launched
Wait, you're not getting away with that.
No,
You take
Amber did a segment on
responsibility for this?
cafepress.com
Oh, okay.
right here.
Oh, this
Look,
is Cafe
check this out.
Pressware.
So yeah, so I had Tacky from Australia, our number one.
Huntress, who's very
wanna
talented.
take that?
Yeah.
That's my little. He designed a new logo for the Cyberwalker.com site, and so I decided to make a line of Cyberwalker wear.
This is the Cyberwalker store, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. I feel like the home shopping channel.
Do you like the likeness?
If you order right now, you'll get absolutely free this amazing mouse pad. Tech help that's really helpful. I love it.
This is actually for somebody in the building, believe it or not.
Really? Does Matt wear those?
Yeah, somebody Matt knows.
All right. So, you'll be covering today, besides thongwear,
Yes.
what?
The dark art of port forwarding.
Port forwarding?
That's how
That's
port forwarding.
how they
yes.
get me my mail?
Yes, no. So, of course, sometimes when you use specialized applications on your computer,
Yeah.
sometimes you have to punch a special hole through the firewall.
I know what you're talking
And
about
it's
now.
really hard. And so I thought, well, let's try to find a way of making it really easy. So
Something a lot of people need to do.
they do, yes.
So the ins and outs of forwarding your ports.
Yes, there you go. Fun,
And it's Web Workshop Day.
Yes, it is.
I always like that.
Yeah, lots of fun. So we're going to check out a site called Dive With Us.
Oh, that's not this one?
No, that's not this one. This is a different photo,
Okay.
actually. We'll check that out in a second.
Dive With Us is a dive shop? Or?
It actually, he and his wife have taken pictures, and they're actually selling them online in a gallery.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, so underwater pictures. So it's really cool. So we're going to help them make the gallery a little bit better, and make the shopping experience a little bit better, and help with search engine results as well.
We'll have the site come
Little
up for
bubbles.
air.
And then this is a photo that was sent in.
This
Herbie's
is Herbie's
Pets.
Pets. Aw. Abbott, Costello, and
Snubs.
Snubs the dog.
that's a
cute.
very cute picture.
Very
Look how
cute.
white Abbott and Costello are.
I'd like to see the shot after that was taken. You know,
Yeah.
the dog. White fur everywhere.
Chaos everywhere. Speaking of chaos, coming up in a little bit too on the show, we're going to talk to a storm chaser.
Yeah, that's gonna be very
Extreme
cool.
Adventure Tech. This guy uses all the latest tools to find storms, and then instead, like you and me, of running away in the other direction, he goes towards them and takes film and takes people too. He does storm tours.
Cool.
Wow.
So that should be really fun, storm chasing. But right now, our first call of the day. May I take your mouse pad with me as I go?
Yes, you can.
Who's on the line?
We have Austin on the webcam from London, Ontario.
Hello, Austin. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Welcome to the show. Say hello to Basil on camera one.
Hey.
So what can we do for you, Austin?
Well, I just want to say that I love the show.
Thank you, sir.
And
I love you.
I want to say hi to Andy and Amber, too.
Hi there.
Hey, Austin.
They're always listening, so anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. So what can we do for you today, Austin?
Well, I have a lot of music on my computer.
Okay.
And videos and all that kind of stuff.
Cool.
And the only way I've been able to listen to my music on my stereos around the house is with my iPod. So
Right.
that's
You dock it over by the stereo.
Yeah. Kind of a hassle, and it's wear and tear on the iPod, though.
Right.
So I went on Future Shop's website, and I found a D-Link wireless media player.
They make one, that's right.
And I was looking for other wireless media players, but I couldn't find any.
This is a very crowded category. In fact, Andy did a roundup of these a little while ago.
Yeah.
Because everybody, actually it was Sean that did them, yeah. It was Sean and Andy.
We both did.
You both, here's one right here. Everybody has a lot of media on their computers now because of downloading music, but as you point out, more and more video and pictures and all that stuff. And we'd love to get it into the living room where the stereo and the TV is. How do we do it? Well, D-Link makes one. There's a whole bunch of different companies. This is one from Prismic. This is their media player. It's very good also. We got Roku makes one, the Sound Bridge. These are all Wi-Fi. In fact, I'll show you the websites here. Oh, there, let me point the media player at you. The idea now, this one is not wireless. You'd have to add a wireless card to this one, but they make a wireless one as well. This one plugs into the Ethernet. But almost all these guys now make them with wireless as well. And that's really great. So you see what happens is you're connected to the network, and then you connect your stereo and your TV. So this goes to the TV, and then this goes to the stereo. And you basically will put a little bit of software on your computer, and you control it through the remote control that goes with the device. So the remote control talks to the device talks over the network to the computer, and the computer then plays the song you've requested. A lot of these, in fact all of them now really have LED readouts, or some of them even LCD readouts, so you can see what you're listening to. You know, it shows you the song name and everything. So this is the Prismic, Prismiq. I actually like these. These are the Roku sound bridges. I mean, look, this isn't cheap. This is $149, but they look so cool. They look good enough to sit on top of your stereo, and you can see they have the output here, the LED output, so you can see what's going on. These are wireless. And then let me show you the Slim Squeeze Box. These are the guys who actually invented the category with their Slim P3. By the way, these work with iTunes, all of them, as well as other programs. This is also wireless. So these just really sound good, I think. And because it's digital, this is because it's digital, it will be very high quality. You know, you're not sending it via radio waves, via analog. You're sending it via digital. So it doesn't get decoded till it gets to the box, and that really can make it very nice. Here's the Prismic website, and actually Prismic makes a number of products, so you have to go to their networked media player page for more information on that. Andy, you tried all of these, I remember.
I did. Actually,
some worked better than others.
They did. I quite like the Prismic. It's one of my favorites. The Soundbridge, though, I was really disappointed with, because I set it up with Apple iTunes to basically broadcast the music, and it gives me an error. It says, will not play protected media.
Ah.
So, and that's been one of my big things, is to buy a lot of music through iTunes.
Right.
I wanted to broadcast it into my living room, and so it won't play.
Interesting. It does
DRM.
support Windows DRM. So if you buy songs from Napster or Pure Tracks, it'll work. So that's interesting. It doesn't. Now, just between you and me, you just run JHIM on this stuff. It'll take all the copy protection out of it, and then it'll play on anything. Right. So, but that's very important to consider. What format is all your music in? Is it? Did you rip it yourself?
Yeah, it's all MP3s ripped.
So then that's good, Austin. You won't have any issues with copy protection. Now I remember we had trouble getting some of these to work. Which ones worked the best, or which ones didn't?
I'm trying to think. There was one that just refused to. But I think
get it to work.
It was partly because there's a lot of RF in the studio.
This is a bad room for
we
that.
have like 4 wireless networks going on in here, and a lot of the lighting system is actually run by Wi-Fi too. So
the only thing I might not like about the Prismic is you have to add a card to get it to be wireless. The other two are wireless built in.
You know what I did like? The unit that was quite good was the Aval player, that network DVD player.
That's another thing, yeah. I mean, this is we're just showing you a few of these. This is a very crowded field, and going to be more crowded as the years go by, because this is what everybody wants to do. I'm in the market for one. Everybody's going to. Yeah. Now that was a neat one because it was a DVD player that had this functionality built in. Did it also have a hard drive?
No hard drive on that one, no.
And that's another thing you might look for, is a media server. You're using your computer as a media server, but ultimately you may want a centralized hard drive with this kind of capability as well. It gets more and more complicated. But anyway, there's a few choices for you, and I'm sure there'll be something that'll work for you, Austin.
Alrighty.
All right, Roku, Soundbridge, Slim P3, Squeezebox 2, the Prismic, which Andy liked a lot. The D-Link is actually very good. We've used the D-Link and been very happy with that as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of good choices out there for you.
Another question.
Yeah, real quick.
Is there any chance I can get an autograph?
Sure. Hang on the line.
Alrighty.
Management is still declining to make us pictures. But as soon as management breaks through, we'll have some pictures for you.
Right.
I understand one of the managers said, what do they need pictures for? Who would want pictures of them? Well, there's somebody. So we'll get some for you, Austin, if we have to print them up ourselves.
All right.
Hang on the line. We're going to get your address. We'll send you some out, okay?
All right.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Take care.
Bye.
I want an autograph from you. Yeah. That's what we should have, autographs from all of our viewers. Why not? Coming up after the break, follow along as we go over the edge and into an active volcano. Things are going to get crazy when the storm chaser's here. Not stormtroopers, storm chasers. Stick around. Call for Help continues right after these words.
The suck zone, the point, basically, at which the twister sucks you up.
Is that from Twister? Welcome to Call for Help. Dun, 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 dun. I love the smell of hurricanes in the morning. It smells like George. Today's guest is an adventurer who relies on technology in extreme conditions. I mean extreme. George Karunas joins us today. He is a real-life storm chaser. Most people go away from storms. He goes towards the first person ever to shoot a video from inside a tornado, a hurricane, and an active volcano. George, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, all
That's
three.
wild. So you're by profession, you're a filmmaker.
Well, I work in the film industry. I actually
Okay.
work in film sound and that kind of thing. And then on the side, I chase tornadoes
This was
and hurricanes.
something you always wanted to do, or?
Well, ever since I was a kid, I was always very interested in science
Yeah.
and nature and that kind of thing. And I've been chasing now for almost 10 years.
Wow. Did you get was there a mentor? I mean, how do you get involved as a storm chaser? You just don't walk towards tornadoes, do you?
Well, no. Well, I started off by educating myself. There's a lot
Yeah.
to learn. I'm not officially a meteorologist, and most storm chasers aren't.
Right.
However,
because meteorologists know better, George.
you're right. Maybe
They
wait a
go
minute.
the other way.
Yeah, oh, that's why. That's why.
No, you have to be an adventurer, really. That's
Yeah.
what a storm chaser is, isn't it?
There's certainly a lot of adventure. You get to travel to all kinds of crazy places and see stuff that most people won't see in their lifetime.
And you risk your life, don't you?
Well, if you know what you're doing, it can be quite safe.
Really?
Yeah, really. There's no storm chaser that has ever been killed by a storm
Really?
yet.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, so it's actually a lot safer than skydiving and that kind of thing if you know what you're doing. If you make a mistake, if you don't know where you are in relation to the storm, you can get into a lot of trouble, though.
So how do you, let's start with tornadoes.
Yeah.
They come up pretty quick.
They
You
do.
don't have a lot of warning. How do you know? Do you go to a certain area, certain time of year saying this is where they're likely to be?
Yeah, there's a certain amount of climatology involved, and there's a certain amount of forecasting involved. May and June are the prime tornado months in the United States. And I have to try and forecast sometimes several days in advance where I think the tornadoes are going to form, and then try and get into position
Right.
and hope that I'm at the right place
Where's
at the
the
right
best
time.
place for tornadoes?
Well, it's the central United States, Tornado Alley.
Yeah.
There's about 1,000 tornadoes touch down every year between Texas up to the Dakotas.
Is this film you shot?
This is stuff I shot last year in Kansas. We had
structure or
10
something.
tornadoes touch down in one day.
Holy cow. Now, give me an idea of the kind of force that's in that tornado.
Well, that's an F3 tornado.
Not even the strongest possible.
No, this is the scale
Look
goes up
at
to
it.
F5, yeah, and here it's intensifying right there.
That's dirt being sucked up into the air?
Yep, dirt, all kinds of debris being sucked up. This is the same day, another tornado later on in the same day. Again, another F3, and it was, I would say, close to a mile wide at that point.
Now, you don't head toward the tornado, do
I'm
you?
driving straight forward at this point.
What the heck are you thinking, dude?
Well, I'm behind it, so I'm kind of trailing behind.
Oh, okay, so it's moving away from you.
it's moving
You're
away from
chasing
me.
it.
I'm chasing it. That's the whole point. You
And
got
what
it.
kind of equipment are you using in the van?
Lots. Because I have to try and pull information out of the air when I'm in the middle of nowhere, I've got all kinds of computers, laptop with, sometimes we have satellite download technology that uses the XM satellite radio system.
They have data on that system?
There's a thing that you can buy that actually gives you radar data on your laptop that
Oh,
feeds through the
neat.
XM satellite data feed
In real time?
in real time. Very, very cool.
Oh, very handy.
Very handy. But I also use all kinds of radio scanners, ham radio to get information.
So you're listening to what the people in the neighborhood are saying.
Yep.
Things like, "Oh my God, get
Yep.
out, get out!" That's what
Exact-
you're looking for.
Yeah, and cellular.
Then you say, before you get out, can you tell me where you are?
Exactly. But there's also things like satellite, not satellite, but cell phone internet access and that kind of thing. I'm always trying to grab pieces of information out of the air.
You're not trying to go into the eye of the storm, though, are you?
Well, not with a tornado.
Because
Tornado-
that would be very dangerous.
Well, I've been there. That's the thing. Typically with a tornado, you want to be on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
However, I once got caught, back in 2003, got caught inside the debris field of this tornado. It was at night, dark, couldn't see. 2x4s and pieces of
But
debris
you're very
started
lucky to be
flying.
alive.
Well, luckily it was weak at that point. It was just starting to strengthen and form.
Yeah.
We had to go and hide behind a shopping mall to get out of the way of all the flying debris, and there were exploding transformers right beside us.
Oh,
and
my
It
goodness.
was very dramatic.
It is dramatic,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's the wall of the storm, though, is the dangerous part, because once you're inside it, isn't it calm or no?
Well, that's more of the hurricanes.
That's a hurricane.
Yeah, with a hurricane, they can be 600 to 1,000 kilometers wide.
Right.
And the strongest portion is in the eye wall, the edge right around the calm part, and that's where you get the strongest winds. But inside the eye, it's quite calm.
Hurricanes, mostly Caribbean area, that's a good place for them?
Yeah, the east coast of the United States, into the Caribbean, and into the Gulf of Mexico. This is some stuff from Hurricane Isabel
How
and
strong
Hurricane
is
Francis.
the wind there?
That's probably 75 miles an hour, so about just over 100 kilometers an hour there.
Wow.
And the thing you really have to worry about with hurricanes is the flooding. That's what kills most people in
water.
hurricanes. It's not the wind, it's the water.
Yeah. And the downed power lines in the water.
Down power lines in the water. There's so many different obstacles. Down trees, many different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You take people into these
Yes.
as tourists.
As tourists, I work with a company called Cloud9 Tours down in the States, and
The
I'm a
insurance
guide for
must
these
be
guys.
hellacious on this stuff. You sign releases forever.
Yes.
Look
Oh,
at this.
Yeah.
This guy cannot move. Is that you?
That's me.
You can't make headway into that.
Yeah, I was leaning into the winds there in Hurricane Francis, and I have a rock climbing harness that I
Oh, I was
have
going
with
to say,
me.
aren't you afraid you'll be whisked away? No, because you're tied down.
And I can tie myself in. But for the tourists, we take them to go see the tornadoes in the central U.S.
And
It's
you
a
don't
lot
really
to
get
see
next
for-
to them. You kind
Oh,
of.
we get up close and personal.
How close?
Very close. We got within a quarter of a kilometer just this past May of a big F2 tornado in Texas.
250 meters? Holy cow.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was
it's
very
like it's
close.
right there.
Right there.
Wow.
And these people come from all over the world. Holland,
Oh, sure.
England, all over. And we had huge hailstones, softball size, that were whipping around the edge of the tornado at
There's something
100 miles an hour.
magical about it, because what you realize is the great power of nature, and it's humbling, and it's beautiful in a scary way.
It
isn't
is. It is. If you can get past the fear and start to appreciate the actual nature that's involved there, it's very beautiful. It can be very dramatic.
Yeah.
But it can also be very traumatic. There's obviously, it's dangerous, and if you don't know what you're doing, again,
You're the
something to watch out
only
for.
person ever to film a tornado, hurricane, and inside a volcano.
Inside all three. Yeah.
Now, let's see what an inside a volcano looks like. Where did you go for this?
This was quite a trek. Talk about remote. It's the Erta Ale volcano in remote Ethiopia. It's in the Danakil Desert, the hottest desert in the world. Nothing for hundreds and hundreds of kilometers around. This is one of the most inaccessible places in the world. We had to trek across the desert in four-wheel drive vehicles. We had camels bringing our equipment up the side of the volcano.
Nice thing about these, though, they don't move. You know
They
where
don't
you're
move,
going.
no. But the trick is, here I am getting prepared to go down inside the crater.
You're wearing a breathing apparatus because there's sulfur and there's actually that's probably the most deadly part of a volcano.
Sulfur dioxide fumes there. There's a tremendous amount of gas, so it's very dangerous.
You can die in the crater because there's no oxygen, but
Yeah.
you're breathing, but you're not getting what you need.
Exactly, and inside this volcano,
Look at
it's
that
known.
suit.
It's known for its lava lake. So there, I'm actually walking on top of the crusted lava lake.
Is that a heat suit?
That's a heat suit. It's an aluminized, heat-reflective suit, and here you can see some of the lava peeking through.
So this is molten rock with a thin crust on top of it.
Yeah,
as
I
you
don't know
walk.
exactly how thick the crust was at that point. So I was harnessed in just in case.
You don't want to go through the crust.
No, it's worse than falling through Lake Simcoe, in the wintertime.
It ain't cold water down
Oh,
there.
no, sir.
Holy cow. What an exciting job you have.
Well, it has its moments, but it's not really as dramatic as you think. It's not like Twister, where you've got tornadoes all the time and drama. 95% of it is just getting into position and waiting and driving. I put 20,000 kilometers on in 4 weeks.
That's why they call them storm chasers.
Exactly.
They're moving, and you got to keep up.
Oh, yeah.
So we're pretty much over with the tornado season now.
Well, we're at the end of the U.S.
Tail end of
tornado
that.
season,
Yeah.
and now we're coming kind of into the Canadian tornado season. The pattern moves north.
Oh, okay.
And we just had several tornado warnings for just north of Toronto and other parts of southern
Not
Ontario.
right now, folks. Don't go
Not right
running
now,
for
no.
shelter. People go, what?
No, but just the other day we did. And basically our season lasts from the end of May through to about mid-August is our tornado season. And we get about a dozen tornadoes in Ontario every year.
And then you go south for the hurricanes.
And then I go south for the hurricanes,
And
exactly.
so you really don't have an off season. There's always something going on.
Well, winter is the slow season for
That's
me,
when you go to
but that's when I go to
volcanoes.
the volcanoes. So there's always something all year round. There's something going on somewhere in the world where I can go and get my video and
what a wonderful
chase it.
hobby. Where do people go if they want to book tours of these things?
Well, they can go to cloud9tours.com,
Okay.
or they can go to my personal website, which is stormchaser.ca, and I've got all kinds of pictures and video on there.
cool.
Yeah, so there's a smorgasbord of severe weather on that website.
Stormchaser.ca. George Karunas is Canada's most active storm chaser. His efforts to film nature's worst weather conditions have taken him all over the world. Remember, he's got more pictures, more video, lots to read about on stormchaser.ca, and of course, we'll have links to it and all the other sites at callforhelptv.com. Don't go packing your bags just yet, though, folks. Time for our tech quiz. See how smart you are here. What was the name of the first word processor? Now, I'm gonna debate this one. We'll see. WordPerfect, Lotus Notes, WordStar, or Typo Electric. They're actually they're older ones than that. Who came up with that one? Well, let's put it this way. What's the oldest of those four? Get to the website. Give us your answer. We'll talk about it when Call for Help continues. I think we're going in.
Welcome back to Call for Help. Time for our Mac tip of the day. Here's a shortcut to find the Mac palette for special characters. All you have to do is click Command, Option T, and then you'll launch a little window so you have an option to go through all of the different characters. And now we have another caller. We have Mark on the webcam from Surrey, British Columbia.
Look at all of those.
I know,
you can try
there's
different
tons.
fonts and all
There's
sorts
little
of stuff.
chess characters and everything.
Yeah. Depending on what fonts you have installed, but even the default fonts have a lot of really
Distracting.
fun little dingbats, they call those. Printers call those dingbats.
Dingbats.
Yeah,
Yes.
nice.
So when somebody calls you a dingbat, now you know what they're calling you. Hey, Mark, how are you?
I think you got a few dingbats over there. Shouldn't be any short
More than a
supply,
few.
you know.
Mark has been suffering through us trying to get iChat AV working, but it works great. It's good to see you, Mark. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good to be here.
What can I do for you today?
Oh, Leo, I need your advice.
All righty.
I've been saving my pennies for a long, long time now, waiting to pick up a new Power Mac.
Oh, that's a lot of pennies.
Yeah, it's been a long haul, and I've waited till this last week's developers conference, you know, to make sure there was no new systems coming out that I wanted
man,
to
always wait
pick
to
up.
see what Apple announces. Absolutely.
Right, but that's when they dropped the Intel bomb.
Yeah.
And so, Jobs did a good job of reassuring everybody that, oh yeah, don't worry, everybody. You know, your old software is going to work fine with the new systems.
Yeah, sure.
You know, with Rosetta, they've got going there, and that's not my concern at all. I want to know if I buy a new PC now, a new Macintosh with a PC chip in it now, is it going to run the new software 2 years down the road?
Those are all very good concerns, legitimate. And actually, you should be concerned about old software too, and I'll tell you why. So I guess your question is, should you buy a Mac now?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. And one of my real concerns about this Apple announcement, just to fill people in, Apple has for years, last 10 years, since 1994, used a chip made by Motorola and IBM called the PowerPC chip, most recently the G4 in the laptops and the G5 in the desktops. Wonderful chip. Steve Jobs has spent years telling everybody what a wonderful chip it is and how superior it is to the other guys' chips. Well, the problem was that IBM wasn't really updating those chips to the degree that Apple wanted them. They wanted 3 gigahertz chips to compete with PCs. And IBM made them, but they didn't make them for Apple. They made them for Microsoft and the new Xbox. And that must have really cheesed Steve Jobs off. It looked like really there wasn't a good, what we call a roadmap, a future for this chip. Steve Jobs apparently, without anybody's knowledge, although we all suspected it, had all along been making sure that his operating system, OS X, could run on both Macintosh and Intel. That wasn't such a hard thing to do because it was based on the operating system for Next computers that Jobs had designed many, many years ago, and that also ran on Intel. So really, OS X has always run on Intel. They just never told anybody about that. They called it the Marklar project. So here we come, fast forward to 10 years later, and it looks like the G5, the PowerPCs, run out of steam. Intel, you know, I might argue Intel is not exactly full steam ahead either, but at least they can manufacture the chips in quantity. They've got 3+ gigahertz chips. They've got a good laptop chip, which IBM never gave Apple. And they're going dual core, which means 2 processors in 1 chip. They're pretty innovative, and they can make lots of chips. Yeah. So Apple apparently decided for purely economic reasons, I don't think it's technical reasons, for purely economic reasons to go with Intel in its next computers. This is how it's going to happen. The Mac Mini first, the low-end Macs first, probably the iMac. That'll happen mid-2006. Steve says by mid-2007, the entire line will be Intel.
Right.
You buy a Mac now, though, you're buying the old chips. You're buying a G5. So what happens to our software? Well, Steve's promising that your software that you're using right now will continue to run on the new Mac Intel platform and you mentioned it, using Rosetta in emulation. Now,
Right.
Steve's saying, oh, it'll run fine. I'm going to tell you, I know for a fact emulation is not going to run fast.
Yeah.
In fact, preliminary benchmarks we're seeing 1/4 to 1/10 the speed. It's not going to be a happy choice. It'll run, but it won't run well. Now, you said you don't mind, but that's kind of an issue because if you buy a Mac today, you'll be buying software based on that G5 chip. If you then get a new Mac in a couple of years or 4 years, you're going to have to get all new software. So essentially what it's saying is your investment in software is obsolete also. That's
Yeah.
kind of important because you spend more than that in the long run than you do on the computer.
That's true, but they said, like I go through a major software change every 2 years or so.
Well, and that's a very good point. If you're
But
upgrading
my hardware,
software,
I've had my same hardware for almost 5 years.
yeah, that's a very good point. And the hardware I'm not so worried about because what's going to start happening very rapidly in the next year is companies like Adobe and other companies are going to release universal binaries. So the next edition of Photoshop, the next edition of Microsoft Office will have a specially written program that will run equally well on the old Macs and the new Macs.
Oh.
That's a bridge technology. That's going to solve the problem for you. If you're not buying software until 2006, you'll probably get universal binaries. And then if you upgrade your hardware, it'll work great on that hardware. So there is a transition period. We went through this in '94. It was painful.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are not going to buy Macs. Do you have a Mac now?
Yeah.
What model is it?
I've got a couple of an old G3 that workhorse that I've been using.
Yeah, you're using a blue and white. It's time to upgrade.
Yeah.
I would say go ahead and do it because, first of all, we're talking 2 years out. You're going to get a lot of benefit for those next 2 years. Software that you buy in the next generation of software will be universal so that you won't feel resistance to upgrading. You may end up upgrading your machine sooner than you thought. So amortize the cost across the 2 years or 3 years instead of 5 years.
Okay.
And that's the true cost of the machine.
All right, so in new major software coming out is going to have both binaries in it then?
Yeah, and I believe that will be true because Adobe Photoshop just came out. That means at least another year before the next edition. That will certainly be universal. Microsoft Office came out in 2004. That means 2006, certainly universal. And from what I've talked to a lot of developers about this, it's pretty easy to make a universal binary. So I think that's going to be solved. I think the real issue is, is this an improvement? And I don't know if it's an improvement. It is definitely for laptops. For desktops, I really like the G5 chip, and I was excited about the Cell chip, which is the next generation PowerPC. But I understand Apple made this move for economic, not technical reasons. And now we have to, if we want to keep using OS X, we have to go along. A lot of people wonder, am I going to be able to run OS X on my PC? Apple says no. However,
Well, I'm sure there's a few programs out there that are going to dig their nails in and
there will be hacks.
find something. Oh, yeah.
There will be hacks, and I bet you that will happen, which will, if it happens in a widespread way, force Apple to start selling it. Because they're not going to miss that opportunity.
No, I'll start. Yeah, I'll
So
start selling
I
volumes.
predict,
He's going to want a piece of it for sure.
even though Steve Jobs does not want to do this, Philip Schiller has said we will never do this. You'll see shrink-wrapped copies of OS X for Windows machines within 5 years.
That will be interesting.
That will be very interesting. And if I were Bill Gates and Microsoft, I'd start to worry a little bit. Mark, I think it's okay to buy now. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, all right.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you for calling. We really appreciate it.
Take care.
Take care. It's a very interesting subject and exciting and risky. And Apple, I think this will end up being one of those things that will be a case study in business schools for years to come, where you're pushed up against a rock and Steve Jobs took the gutsy, not the safe, but the gutsy decision. And I think that's kind of exciting. He's always been willing to do that. There's always a risk. And I think there's a very, very big risk here. But if they can pull this off, that means they're now suddenly with Intel, Intel does not like Microsoft. Intel would love to have some competition for Windows. Intel's going to support Apple in doing this. They're going to say, great. And that's interesting. Competition is good for everybody. If you thought building a site was hard work, friends, where do you have to start promoting your site? Fortunately, we're here to help. Up next on Call for Help, how to turn search results in all of the search sites into your favor. Amber's Web Workshop coming up right after the break. Stay right here. If you're afraid to dive deep into the water, but you love the mystery of what lies beneath, might want to check out this next site, but not before we take it through our infamous web workshop workout. Amber's here to help Brian Branch, Brian Branch out a little. I thought his name was Brian Branch. Brian Branch out a little and get his sea surfing skills up to snuff.
Yeah, so Brian and his wife have started this site called Dive With Us because they're avid divers and they've decided to go out and take a bunch of underwater photos that they want to sell online.
Oh,
so it's a relatively new site. We're going to go through a few things today. The first one is how to help with search results. The second thing is about helping a little bit with the entire shopping experience and helping with navigation as well.
I don't think we have to do anything with design.
The
It's
design
beautiful.
is really beautiful. He's done a really nice job with this. So he's done a great job. It's, like I said, it's a fairly new site. So first thing we're going to talk about is the search results. So as you know, with new sites, they definitely don't show up in search results.
Takes a while. In fact, there are those who say Google sandboxes people for 6 months.
Yes, yeah, I've heard that for 6 months. So you're going to have a hard time getting into some of the search results. But there's a few things you can do to actually increase your chances of getting higher up in the search results. One of them is just make sure that you're labeling your pages correctly and titling your pages correctly and have your theme on your page. For instance, they've actually done a really good job of this. At the top of the page in their title bar, it says Dive With Us Tropical Fish Prints.
That's important for the search?
That's really important because the search engines actually pick that up. So this is such a little thing that you think a lot of people actually don't do this. They won't even put a title into the code.
That's a title tag.
That's a title tag.
Doesn't show up. It's in the header.
It's in the header. So you have to go in, you have to put in, and put a description of your site and not just the name of your site.
That's DESC, the tag, or... Oh, I see you're saying in the title tag.
In the title tag,
So
actually in the title tag. So what a lot of people will do, they'll just put the name of their
Right.
website in there, but what you should do is actually put a mini description as well.
I've noticed a lot of the big professional sites do that.
They do that, like Amazon will do that.
Yeah.
They'll say shopping, you know, they'll put a lot of keywords into
Which
their
makes
titles.
it hard to bookmark because the bookmark starts with that big long
Exactly,
name.
and it's
but-
really long.
So I knew there was a reason they were doing it. That makes sense.
It makes sense. So they've done a good job of doing that, so that's helpful. Another thing I would actually suggest that they might want to try to do is to actually, even, I'm big into kind of a lot of the free blogging software that's out there, and also blogs have a better likelihood of getting picked up in a lot of the search
really?
engines because the content tends to be updated more often.
Yes.
And then there's sites like Technorati that go and they actually crawl the sites, and you can...
And you get links,
and
which
you get,
helps your
And you get a lot more links,
ratings,
and then you have a chance, you know, to connect with other bloggers who
Right.
might post to your site and those
Do you
types
think
of
a
things.
blog on this would help?
I think a blog, and you know, people stereotypically think of blogs as a place that's like an online journal where you're just posting your thoughts. What I would do is actually use the blogging software kind of as a content management system.
That's all it really is.
That's all it really is. So you could use something like Blogger or Typepad, and you could go there and you could switch over and you can try to, you know, with Typepad, you can keep some of these elements of basic design, but you can update your site that it looks like the content is changing more often.
And if you put WordPress or some software on your own server, then you'd have
Exactly.
absolute control. It looked exactly the same.
And then you also, it's a lot easier for you to go and change and maybe have like a fish photo of the week or something like that. So you can
Updating regularly. is
updating
very-
regular, because what will happen if we look at this site just quickly, a static site like this, you know, it's really beautiful, it's really nice, but you know, I would guess that they probably aren't going to update this very often because it's probably a little more difficult to update. So this way, if you're actually really want to sell some of your stuff, you know, use something that allows you to update the content
Picture
fairly
of the
regularly.
day, tip
Picture of the day, those
trip of the
types
day,
of things.
yeah.
When they go away, say, hey, we're about to go to Barbados in 2 weeks, check back, because we'll have some great photos.
What about meta tags? A lot of people say, put meta tags in, put meta tags in.
Yeah, I think that's good. You know, you put meta tags in, put all your keywords in, and put as many as you possibly can in. That's another thing.
Google ignores them.
It ignores some of them, but just, you know, you can put those in. Just do as much as you
Doesn't
possibly
hurt.
can. It doesn't hurt at all. And another thing that's really good to do as well is check out some other sites that do similar things to you, and then find out where, you know, they're listing their links on other, you know, search engines and specialty search engines. That's another way to do it as well. So say, for instance, there's a website that lists all of these places where you can buy underwater art or something like that. Make sure you know, email the person and try to get linked on their site. So that's a way to kind of bypass some of the search engines.
And that will improve your ratings
That will
in the
improve
search
your
engine.
ratings.
You'll
Exactly.
come up in Google
For
because
sure.
of that.
So just be a little bit creative, and also even just do a Google search to see other people who are doing things like this, and even email them and say, hey, where are you listed? How
Right.
are you getting traffic? Can you list me, and exchange links with that person? So that will help as well.
Now let's take a look at their e-commerce.
Okay, so the e-commerce, so we'll take a walk through the e-commerce. So you can see here on the left, they have a link to their gallery. I would actually rename this. Instead of saying choose your gallery, I would say, you know, shop for prints or something like that. So
Make
it's
it
more
clear.
obvious. Because right now when I just see this, I think it's a place where I'm going to go and actually browse the prints. But you can actually do shopping there. So once you click on one of the links here to the banded butterfly fish, hopefully this is a nice one, then you can go in and you can actually see the prints right here. So what it does, it allows you to pick which size print you want. It has the price, and then it has view cart. Now they're missing a few things here. One of them is actually the buy button. So if you have a shopping site, you should have a buy button. You know, I've gone through the site, so I can tell that when I click on 8x10, that's a place where I can actually buy it.
But it should say buy.
It should say,
8x10.
you know, buy this now, buy this
Right.
now, buy this now. And then, you know, it's okay to have the view card on the bottom. So if we click on the 8x10 and we check out...
Now, they're probably using some third-party shopping cart.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they were using a third party. And then you go here, actually, you pay them via PayPal,
Oh, interesting.
which is interesting. But I would be a little bit concerned about this because on the entire site, there's nowhere that you can go that has any kind of privacy policy or shopping policy or says anything about the people behind the website. So basically, the shopping experience involves 2 steps. You click on the size of the photo, and then you're expected to buy it right here. I would say they're missing quite a few steps here. They want to have a privacy policy. They want to have some information, you know, down here, just a link to a privacy policy, who's behind this site, why you can trust that site, or those types of things.
Yeah.
So, you
You're
know,
doing business. You got to do these things.
you have to do these things. So we talked a lot about online shopping. It's really important that the people out there know who's behind the site. So
They won't
definitely,
buy if they don't.
they won't buy. So, you know, beef that part up a little bit, and hopefully more people buy. And if you want people to buy, make sure you have buy links and links about, again, who's behind the site. And that will improve it a little bit.
It's divewithus.com.
.com. And there's actually hyphens in there, so we'll put a link to it in our show notes.
Dash with dash us.
Exactly. So it's a beautiful site. They've done a really good job of the design, and if they fix it up a little bit, tweak a few things, I think they should get some more traffic.
There you go. You heard it from the wizard. If you're in the market for a makeover on the web, that is, email your site to Amber at
Callforhelptv.com.
And more of your calls coming up. We'll catch the next wave back to shore. Meet you here in 2 minutes. Don't forget to bring your brain coral with you, or your pufferfish.
You're on, Kenny.
9, 8 commercials.
Stand by
7,
commercial.
6,
Stand by to bring in the
cut
keys.
commercials.
Very hot pack,
4,
hot pack.
3,
Roll commercial. Ready black.
2, 1.
Fade to black.
Welcome back to Call for Help. Time for our Gmail tip of the day. Here's how you can format your messages in Gmail. All you have to do is compose a new mail, click on Rich Formatting, and then you have the option to add bold font, italicized, underlined, and you can even add a link into your text in your message by just clicking on this little link right here. So we could link to Call for Help.
Very cool.
And now we have another caller. We have Robert on the line from San Francisco, California.
Thank you, Amber. Hello, Robert.
Good morning.
From my neck of the woods. Good morning. How are you today?
Wonderful. And yourself?
Very well. Welcome to the show. What can I do for you?
Thank you. We have a coworker and a friend who is visually impaired, and he loves ebooks. And especially, we are loving the Microsoft Reader because all of us friends can easily transfer lots of different types of documents into things that he can listen to.
Well, now, wait a minute. Let me get this straight. He loves ebooks, but he's visually impaired.
He can see enough on a screen where he can click an icon
I got
and
it.
click a button.
But is he making the text really big, or?
No, he just listens to them.
Oh, he's using the text-to-speech feature to
Yes.
read it to him.
Correct.
So the computer voice is reading it to him.
That is correct.
I understand. Okay.
Yeah. So he uses that. We also use a lot of different other forms of ebooks
Right.
for him. What he wants to do is to make it portable rather than carry a laptop around to do this.
Yeah.
He currently has an iPod, which is very, very difficult for him to use.
Yeah.
It's just sort of push and pray.
You have to kind of know what. Yeah.
Yeah, he's memorized it rather than being able to see the
Right.
very big screen on that.
Right.
What he would like to do is go to some other sort of MP3 player or something similar that he could easily play his songs as well as a multitude of different types of ebooks.
To play back the ebooks, you'd need a computer because that's doing text-to-speech unless you record the speech.
Right. No,
Pocket
that's-
PC will do that, by the way. You could, I mean, maybe that's the good solution for him, is a Pocket PC device. It'll play back music and it'll read those ebooks. You can see it. He can make it big and see it, but he can also use the text-to-speech built into the Pocket PC to read it to him. Otherwise, what you could do is you could use, you could play back the book on a computer and record the text-to-speech using something like Music Match Jukebox, which is a free program. Most computers are capable of playing back sound and recording it at the same time. It's called full duplex sound card. And almost all of them can do it now. So what you would do is you'd run a recorder and play back the book. You got to do that in real time. Kind of a pain, but you could do that. Does he know about books on tape like Audible and stuff like that?
Yes, he uses those as well.
Because Audible's great.
They're very limited, and with the, especially with Microsoft Reader, we can take almost any text we can find and plop it into there. And
I think he wants to get a Pocket PC device.
What type would you recommend for
compact
somebody?
iPack. I think they're my favorites. The Dell Axims are also very good. The Axims are more bang for your buck. And so these are running Microsoft's Pocket PC version of Windows, right? And,
correct.
And so they can use the readers. They have the reader software, which is excellent. They have the capability of doing text-to-speech because they're little computers. And you can get a card and play an MP3 player. I think bang for your buck, something like the Dell Axim X50, which is brand new, is really great. It has a beautiful display that he could make the text big on, I believe.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, which would allow him to use the start button. In other words, it'd be easier for him to figure out what's going on.
Right.
I think that's going to be the best of both worlds. It's a computer, so it'll do the text-to-speech, but it also has memory and can play back MP3s.
And it's nice and portable.
Yeah, very portable, although not as portable as an iPod, but not much bigger.
Okay, that's exactly what we're looking for.
Good. The Axim or the iPacs from Compaq, both of them I think are very, very good. And by the way, they have wireless, so you can listen to radio. I mean, because it's a computer, it's very flexible. Hey, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. I hope that helps.
Great. Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
All right, take care. It's kind of a best of both worlds scenario. Coming up, Andy's going to crank up his firewall. Hello, Central, and show us the black art of port forwarding. That's coming up next. But don't get all revved up yet. We want you to cruise in second gear for a bit while you answer this quiz question of the day. What was the name? Well, actually, I'm going to rewrite this to say which one of these is the earliest word processor, because there are word processors that are older than this. WordPerfect, Lotus Notes, WordStar, or Typo Electro. Get to the website, give us the answer. We'll talk about it when Call for Help continues. Welcome back. Before the break, we asked you the name of the first word processor. I rewrote that to say the earliest, which is the earliest of these. And of course, it's WordStar, predated all those other programs. But even before WordStar, there were programs like Electric Pencil and Scriptsit and some really old, funky word processors. Apple had some for the Apple II.
Did they? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, of
I
course.
remember that. Yeah, Apple IIe.
And that's well before WordStar.
Yeah,
so we
that's
can't
true.
give WordStar pride of place, unfortunately. But a very old word processor.
That's true. I remember that, learning that in sort of late high school.
And your fingers remember those keys, Command KS or Control KS for saving. You just always got that in your head.
Yeah.
You never lose it.
No, I know.
So everybody nowadays is running a network. This is something nobody ever envisioned. But we all have multiple computers. Many of us have multiple computers, high-speed connections, and we want to share the connections. Suddenly you're running a network. Maybe you're even sharing files. That can cause problems for a lot of non-web-based activities.
That's right. There are, it could be chat, it could be P2P software like Shiraza, or a lot of these different applications that have
video chat
perhaps,
that's a real problem.
and they have to go through that hardware firewall, that router that you have on your network, and open up a port so that the people outside can send data in through the non-traditional doorways. So ports are their electronic doorways.
As we've said, a router is a great device because it is a firewall that protects you, but also can make it more complicated.
Absolutely.
So how do we punch a hole or open a port?
Well, let's think of it in terms of mailing a letter. Okay. And I actually created there's a little box here. It says, okay, well, you're in Petaluma.
Yeah.
And I'm here in Toronto.
Yeah.
And you're going to mail me this box.
Yes.
And inside the box,
presents.
There is data from
the grapefruit.
Shiraza. All right.
Okay.
So there's that data, right? Now, you have to think. So let's turn it around for a second. Well, where's the data coming from? It's coming from on your router,
network.
your network, wide area network, which means anything out there. We could actually specifically configure our network to be you, but I'm going to show you how to configure all data coming through on a particular port. We're sending it to this address inside my network.
That's the problem. This is a local address.
This is a local address. And we're sending it through a specific port.
Right.
So let me show you on your router how to configure this. It'll make a lot more sense. The from address, the to address.
Okay.
So we're going to go on to, we're going to go into our DOS mode here for a second. I'm going to type ipconfig, because that will give us some information that we're going to need. So
can I put my grapefruit down?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
As you see here, my address inside the network is 0.1.
That's your local
It's
address.
my local address, exactly.
Not the address that I see is in the outside world.
No. So
I'll be
so
mailing it to something like 64.28.9.
That's right. But you don't even need to know. You don't even know how you're coming at me because we're
Right.
going to connect independently. Let's go into our router here. I've got a D-Link router here. I'm going to click on the Advanced Tools. I'm going to go into Firewall. Now, do you remember I showed you before? I said the source. Where's it coming from? The source is WAN.
That's the outside world.
Now, I could specifically put in your IP address out there on the internet, but I'm just going to put in star, because that means all traffic. Okay. But if I wanted to be more secure, I could actually specify your address.
If it's coming from Leo.
If it's coming from Leo, right? And then in the destination, I'm going to say LAN.
That's us.
That's us. I'm going to type in 192.168.0.112. Now, I can specify a range, for example. I could say, well, all the computers, and I could actually go, 115. So all the computers from 112 to 115. But I'm not going to. I'm just going to say one single one there. And the protocol, TCP or UDP or ICMP, these are different types of packets that can come through. I'm going to say star, all packets. And I'm going to type in that port range. Now, where do we get the port from? Well, in every application, this is a P2P program sharing. I'm going to go to Tools and say Settings. And I'm going to look for the port that it communicates on. It's 6346. So I'm going to go back into my firewall. And I'm going to put that there. Now, I could put a series of port addresses here as well. And then I can actually turn it on and off. I can schedule. I can say, always allow this traffic, or just overnight, or just in this particular hour, or whatever, which is kind of a really...
this is a much nicer interface than most routers have. This D-Link has done a nice job for...
Now, this is a little complicated, so you can actually make it, in this particular one, you can actually go to the virtual server instead.
That's a little more risky, frankly.
This is a little more risky?
Don't you think?
No, I don't think, because then here you're saying, well, I guess it could be. And I could do that. I could put my IP address in here. I could specify both types of packets.
Oh, no, I guess not. This is more like traditional port
So this would just be one port. I could put, 6346 and the public port 6346.
This is more like my router looks like. It's simpler.
Two different ways to do it. You got to think in terms of where's the traffic coming from, where is it going to, and which port do you want to communicate on. Then you need those two pieces of information. You need the internal IP address, and you need the port number from the program, either the chat program or the video program, or perhaps even the P2P like Shiraza.
The details are online. Callforhelptv.com. A final word coming up right after this. Stay here. Welcome back to Call for Help. Help! So we had to rush through that port forwarding thing a little bit, but we'll revisit that. Because that's something people are doing more and more if they want to use something like MSN Messenger. Is a really complicated one.
And I do urge people to go to the web notes because I did put a step-by-step specifically for Shiraza on how to do that with the router, with the D-Link router. So
yeah, my Linksys looks nothing like that. And that's another reason this is difficult, because every router, even within the same brand, has its own weird thing.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have a question about topics like this or something simpler too, we'd love to hear from you. Just go to our website, callforhelptv.com. On the left there, you'll see a thing that says Ask a Question. You fill that out. We'll get you on the show. Remember, if you've got a problem with your personal confuser,
don't whine.
Don't move.
Don't yell. Just call for help. Thanks for joining us. Come back next time. We'll see you right here.
See ya.
So let it be written. So let it be done.